Before we launch in to our chapter on positive perfectionism, I wanted to say a small amount about engagement. Engagement is significantly important to how we go about changing the way that our dancers operate in the studio. And it has relations to positive perfectionism, because the chapter ahead of you doesn't have nearly so much information in it as the negative perfectionism chapter. We often focus a lot on what is going wrong and noticing what is not working for us, and we forget about the stuff that is working. And this is a real flaw in the way that we teach dancers. Dance is criticism heavy. Dancers get corrections a lot, and after every run of things and at the end of each day, and there's constantly working on their weaknesses. And the number of times that I speak to performers when their careers are finished and they say, if I had spent as much time working on my strengths as I had trying to correct my weaknesses, I would have been amazing. So leading into our conversation about the positive side of things, I'd really like us to understand a little bit more about what the research says about engagement. So here on the screen you'll see a bar. Now this bar symbolizes active engagement or active disengagement. So if it's green, it means you're 100% actively engaged. If it is red, it means you're 100% actively disengaged. Now in a dance environment, in any environment, when someone feels ignored, they're going to feel about 60% engaged, but they're going to be disengaged about 40% of the time. And I hear this quite a lot from dancers, where they'll say, oh yes, that teacher doesn't give me any attention, or I just work at the back of the room in that class. So I think you'd be surprised at how much students actually feel like they're being ignored, even if they're not being ignored. Now, the next bar that we're going to look at is when you are criticised in some way, when you're given negative feedback, corrections. In this case, you become 78% engaged, but you're still 22% disengaged. Now in the dance environment, when we talk about disengagement, I would be talking about how dancers are not thinking about their dancing and their process. So instead, like Sarah, our case study, they might be checking their body image, they might be comparing themselves to others, they might be wishing that they were outside in the lovely day or that it was holiday. So anything that's taking their focus away from the dancing that's in front of them to do. Now, significantly, if you work with someone on their strengths, so be clear about this. This is not about saying to someone, oh, that was very good, well done, you're doing really well. I'm talking about working with someone's strengths in terms of their ability. They become 99% actively engaged. So as we move forward into the positive perfectionism literature and find a way to understand what it is and observe it, I really want you to have in your minds about how working with positive perfectionism rather than negative perfectionism is going to engage dancers more, and that engagement is going to be vastly important to their capacity to improve.